Hello, and welcome to today's edition of the Academy. Now today we're going to conclude part 4, the conclusion of chapter 11 for Sun Tzu's Art of War. We're going to do two sentences again, sentences 60 and 67. The rest kind of just deals a lot more with how you manage an army, personnel issues and stuff like that, discipline, the politics of leading an army and what have you. But I think there's a couple things here that we can extract. Again, chapter 11 seems to have a lot of information that's almost a rehash or a remember this kind of thing about it from earlier chapters. Now, it is entirely possible that some of these sentences really don't belong in this chapter, but they're supposed to be part of something else, or maybe they're added after the fact. Either way, it comes down to us in this form. So I think we'll be able to take a look at these and learn something. So let's start with sentence number 60. Success in warfare is gained by carefully accommodating ourselves to the enemy's purpose. And sentence 67. Walk in the path defined by rule and accommodate yourself to the enemy until you can fight a decisive battle. Okay, these are very kind of obscure sentences and not something you'd actually necessarily pick up on quickly. But let's look at what is actually being said here. The very first part, sentence 60, is success in warfare is gained by carefully accommodating ourselves to the enemy's purpose. Now, if you think back to deception and all the concepts there and how you are trying to manipulate your enemy through other means, okay, this is another way to deal with, I guess, manipulate your opponent. Now, not in a bad way, but think about it this way. Your opponent will expect you potentially to behave a certain way. Well, act that way. Make him think he knows you, right? So Cao Kung actually kind of made it blunt, and he said it, feign stupidity. That's kind of what he's mentioning here. By an appearance of yielding and falling in with the enemy's wishes, basically, that's what we're talking about here. The enemy expects you to do certain things and wants you to do certain things. And if you know that, you can kind of play along until it suits your purposes. Okay. Now, Cheng Yu took it, kind of put some examples in place, and he said, for example, if the enemy shows an inclination to advance, lure him on to do so. If he's anxious to retreat, delay on purpose, so don't attack him right away, so that he might actually have cause to go ahead and do what he intends. The object basically is to lull your opponent into thinking he knows what you're doing and knows what you're going to do, and that his plans are going the way he wanted to. Now, this is a very tricky thing to do on a tabletop because, again, it's all about the competition between the two players, their abilities to read each other, and their abilities to outwit each other. Very hard to do, but it's very important to attempt. Think about it on the tabletop. If you've got, now, most of us know what the objectives are for the game. So most of us know what the opponent's going to want to do. Now, if you have an army built a certain way, it may appear to your opponent that you would approach the objective in a certain fashion. Maybe you just kind of play along. Maybe you have a different thing in mind. If you have an army that likes to get in close and personal, kind of do that. Make it, because the opponent's expecting it. He's going to make his plans around that, and because he expects you to do that. So you can kind of play into his scheme, making it look like he's getting his way, right? When in fact, you're in complete control of what's going on. You know what's about to happen, and you have some plans otherwise. So I wanted to start with this sentence because it dovetails really well into sentence 67. Walk in the path defined by rule and accommodate yourself to the enemy until you can fight a decisive battle. See that second part? That's right in the middle. That's how it segues really well. Because this sentence, there are two things you must do until something else happens, right? Those two things are walk in the path defined by rule and accommodate yourself to enemy. So let's talk about those first, and then we'll talk about that until part. Now, walking the path defined by rule is essentially all about adhering to. Now, follow me on this. Don't jump to conclusions. Don't try to second guess where I'm headed with this. Just understand what I'm about to say, because that until part is going to open your eyes. Now, we want to adhere to the tactical doctrines, the way we are supposed to fight, the way we are supposed to play the game, the way your units are supposed to behave according to the way every knowledgeable player knows how to play them. Okay? That is what he means by walking in the path defined by rule. Keep doing that. Do that all the time. Okay? The second, accommodate yourself to the enemy. Now there, we've talked about what that means. And this is important. And now I want to expound on it a bit. Tumu, one of the commentators, actually kind of informs that statement a little bit more by saying, conform to the enemy's tactics. Okay? That's what he means. Now, here is the really interesting part. All these chapters have been telling you something completely different. Been telling you not to do these things. The key to this sentence is that last piece. Until you can fight a decisive battle. That is when you change. You become yourself. Okay? So this plays in a lot of different ways. And it is reinforced by everything that's gone before. You want to deceive your opponent by making him think you're going to fight a certain way. And you're going to actually fall into his traps. Okay? You're deceiving your opponent of that. Actually, that encourages them to continue their plan, and it kind of baits them out on a limb, hopefully, so that you can actually spring your trap. And just like we talked about before, again, the crossbow energy, you have that moment of decision, and the energy is all released instantaneously. That is what happens here. That energy is released by breaking all the doctrinal rules, not all of them, but the ones that don't help you in this. Turn the tables, okay? Do something different than it's expected. And don't do things the way your opponent expected you to, okay? So, if you think about it, looking from a historical perspective, that's the way Napoleon defeated a lot of his opponents. They were all schooled in a certain way of fighting, and what happened, but these upstarts, this Napoleon, who was just a corporal in the artillery, suddenly becomes able to best these generals, okay? Simply because he didn't follow the orthodoxy of the time, okay? Now, this will actually, it's kind of neat because when you think this through, I like what Tumu says in his commentary about this, about, you do these things until a favorable opportunity offers you something that makes that opportunity just that time to strike. And then your opponent is kind of thrown in disarray. He doesn't know what to do because you're not doing what he thought you were going to be doing. You're not fighting the way you're supposed to be fighting. And then it takes some time for him to adjust. Now, during that time of adjustment, and of course, the better the opponent is, the quicker that adjustment will be, you will be able to hopefully exact some measure of disruption. So let's take a look at kind of an example that now there's some historical pieces here, but I want to kind of look at more of a personal one on the tabletop because I think it illustrates it very, very well. So for those of you who play 40K, you'll understand this a lot better. But I think I'm going to try to keep it a little bit more generic in my description, so maybe others will be able to see this as well. When I began playing 40K, I fell in love with the Tau. The aesthetic was really, really good. The fluff, the play style of the army, the way it was presented to me in the fluff, just fits what I knew from my background. Okay. Well, when I began to play, everyone, and I mean everyone, played Tau by turtling up in a corner, everybody supporting each other, and just whittling down the opponent. Turtle Tau. It's just not. Now, to me, that's not the way I played. But everyone expected me to play that way, and they built their plans around that. Now, had I thought, I really I was still learning the game, so I really couldn't take advantage of this, but there were many times when I was able to eventually make this happen, but because the opponents expect me to sit there and shoot. And so what I would do, again, walk in the path defined by rule, right? I would set up my initial forces in a very static defensive position, looking like a static Tau huddle, a nice little turtle position, a castle, just what the opponent expected. Of course, they build their battle plans around trying to get in there and break it up, because the one thing you know Tau can't handle is getting in there close. So the best thing to do is just rush them and overwhelm them. Perfect. I'm going to let them think that, and I will not interfere with that. Now, the opponent will start moving closer. I will not try to do anything to dissuade that. Again, he gets confident because it's working his way. And suddenly, he's very close. He's concentrated his units toward that central position. And now I maneuver. This is when I make the decision. And now I start to move those units and bring in the reserves around the flanks, rear, different angles than he was expecting. Now all of a sudden, it is no longer a single static Tau position that he's assaulting and whittling down, wearing out. He's facing my entire army all over the table, and he's not in a position to handle that. He doesn't have overlapping fields of fire. He's got units in the way of each other. He is not in a position. He's not ready for this, and all of a sudden the tables are turned. That's the kind of thing Sun Tzu's trying to get across here. Now, you're not always going to do it well. Some armies are going to be harder to do it than others, but it's just always a matter of practice. Okay, so that's what I'm going to encourage you to do. So these two sentences I think are very helpful, and I wanted to kind of bring these forward to you. Again, I'm not trying to put something there that's not useful to us. I think that's about all we can extract out of chapter 11. Now, I will be honest, as I close this video out, I am sure that there are certain aspects of some other sentences I just didn't quite catch. And there may be future videos where I'll do a part 5 of chapter 11 because, oh yeah, I just figured this one out, So please don't take this last few episodes of chapter 11 and just limit yourself to just these sentences I've covered. If you have the chance to read it yourself, see if you can't pull out insights of your own and apply them to the tabletop. Okay, to me, it's a lot of fun. I mean, if you want to be able to do that, it's something that you might appeal to you. Please do it. Don't think this is the be all and end all in this particular video here for chapter 11. All right, so hope you found that useful. Thank you for sticking with me through this Sun Tzu so far. We've got 2 chapters left, and there's not much to cover in those 2. It's probably going to be 1 video per, so a couple more weeks we'll be done with Sun Tzu. But that will not be the end of the Academy, all right, just to kind of warn you. All right, so share, like, and subscribe if you haven't already. Please click the notification bell if you want to know when the next Academy video comes out or any of my other videos. And stay tuned and see what else we can learn in this wonderful world of tabletop gaming. All right, thanks a lot. Take care. Bye.